So today we'll be taking a look at what's going on with Scarlett, Bryan Danielson's lie, and Becky Lynch calling out a WWE legend. Let's start things off with Scarlett. As everyone knows by now, Scarlett used to be one of the main centerpieces for Karrion Kross's character in NXT. Karrion Kross was very special on his own in NXT, but Scarlett took him completely over the top and added so much to this presentation of his character. Scarlett isn't a supernatural character per se, but she definitely has this dark feel to her character that just added so much to Karrion Kross. At times, it even felt like she was truly in control of Karrion Kross and controlled his abilities and strength in a sense. A lot of fans even compared Scarlett's character to how they would have imagined a live version of Sister Abigail being like. And that's a good comparison as well. Scarlett's NXT character was very Abigail-ish. She had that sort of mystique to her. Only issue is that Scarlett hasn't been seen or even referenced in a long time. Karrion Kross has made his Raw debut, but things have been a bit shaky and his debut didn't really live up to the expectations that NXT fans had for his debut. They thought we would get the entire presentation of Scarlett, of the smoke, of the whole look, but that hasn't been the case at all. He just walked out with his mask and gear, and it's been something that fans have been discussing for months. Mick Foley even referred to a main roster Karrion Kross as being a watered-down version of his NXT self. Reports claim that Karrion Kross being a bit shaky and losing some matches was part of WWE's initial plan. They wanted to make it seem like something was off with Karrion Kross, and that would lead to the main roster introduction of Scarlett, and she would be revealed as a missing part and start leading him towards massive success. That was WWE's alleged plan, but we're still waiting on that. We're still waiting to see Scarlett, as well. She's been gone missing from all brands, including NXT. Karrion Kross recently appeared on the Table Talk Show and was asked about Scarlett's absence and return. He had this to say: "This is what I can say without being deliberately cryptic. We are waiting for something to finish taking its course. She's very good, and she's been training like a maniac, like she always does. You can expect to see her anytime or any place." So by the sounds of Kross's comments, it sounds like Scarlett is getting real close to making some sort of WWE return. What Scarlett will be doing upon her return still seems to be in question though. Scarlett can no doubt wrestle and compete on the highest level, but her role since being officially signed with WWE has been a non-wrestling manager role. So it'll be interesting to see if that stays the same or changes in the future. Does she return to manage Karrion Kross on the main roster and help him get to that next level? Or will Scarlett start competing again herself? That's what we'll have to wait on. So hopefully we get to see Scarlett return really soon. It's been a few years since we've seen Lita inside of a WWE ring. Trish Stratus had another official retirement send-off and match with Charlotte Flair at SummerSlam 2019. But Lita, on the other hand, never really got another official send-off after she returned for WWE Evolution a few years ago. This has everyone wondering if Lita does have another match left in her that could be a final farewell to the ring. Sportskeeda tweeted an article that asked Lita about one last match. Lita responded by asking the fans who their pick was for her final opponent. The fans all jumped in with their picks, but WWE SmackDown Women's Champion Becky Lynch also jumped in on the conversation and had this to say in response to Lita: "I'll send you off with a bad arm if you like." Becky, of course, referring to the idea of putting Lita in the disarm her submission move during their match together. And the idea of Becky versus Lita has truly been taking over ever since Becky's tweet to Lita. The idea of that match has a lot of fans excited. The return of a WWE icon like Lita is of course a very big deal and shouldn't just happen on some random episode of Raw or SmackDown. But if another event similar to WWE Evolution ever happens again, this could very well be the perfect match for an event like that. Even if there's no title involved, if the story is there, if it's not rich enough, it can be a great non-title feud. Even though Trish Stratus has entered retirement 3 or 4 times by now, fans are still talking about her return as well. The biggest dream match that Sasha Banks still wants is a match against Trish Stratus. That's another match that the fans really want to see as well. Trish and Sasha first interacted with each other on screen back in 2018, and it never really led to anything between the two of them, but fans would still like to see that match happen as well. So, would Trish and Lita come back for these 2 big matches? It's a good question to ask, but the challenge has been set by both Sasha and Becky. Everyone remembers the night back in 2016 where Daniel Bryan said his goodbye to the ring in an emotional retirement in front of his hometown crowd. That retirement had the main event segment of Raw that night and went extremely over the original time slot for Raw. It was revealed back then that Daniel Bryan was entering early retirement due to all of his concussions that he was suffering right after the other. Concussions are really scary, especially if you've got a few of them right after each other. If you start getting so many of them in a short amount of time, it can start to get pretty career-threatening. We saw this happen with Alexa Bliss a few years ago when she was being concussed left and right during matches with Ronda Rousey. Alexa had to be shut down for a while. There was a moment there where everyone wondered if WWE will keep her out of the ring for good. Thankfully, that wasn't the case for her, but it unfortunately was the case for Daniel Bryan. He had to retire because of these concussions, but in a new interview with WDEL, Bryan revealed that it wasn't exactly just because of the concussions. He had this to say: "I legitimately thought I was healthy and still think that I'm healthy. One of the reasons I was forced to retire was not because of the concussions, but because I lied about that. You have to understand, from WWE's point of view, I'd been wrestling for them for 6 years, but then all of a sudden they opened this Pandora's box about lying about his medical history, and now we can't trust him. A lot of that was building the trust back, but they were also legitimately looking after my health. I was going to see doctor after doctor and doing everything I could to improve brain function to show, above and beyond, that my brain was healthy." So it turns out that they were looking after his health. But what also played a part in that decision was the fact that they weren't sure if they could trust Bryan's words or not on his health. Bryan always said that he felt healthy, but clearly there was a lot of things going on at the time. So Bryan thinks that his retirement was about them not really trusting him. But as he continued to go to see many doctors and continued to get checked out, that's what helped him to build that trust back up and got him cleared. Bryan has been wrestling ever since he was cleared by WWE and his doctors a few years ago, and is of course now making waves in AEW. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments, don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.